You go to country, outside of the country, no matter what people might say, it's not only always a comfort, it's also about making money.
Earnings that we have.
Yeah, that you have to have additional earnings. I mean, going to a Gulf or going to why should one go to Nigeria? I think trust and transparency are two big tools which bring in loyalty here. In the past, it was the brand which drove a customer into coming and buying from you. There's a buyer's market, a seller's market. So the consumer has a lot many more choices. So now it's become a buyer's market. How do you then, even in a buyer's market, make sure that you retain a customer, you do your numbers, he comes back to you? My one point answer to this is be in the shoes of the customer and understand what he's looking for when he walks into your store. You lose it or you connect it to the customer at the first interaction itself. Jewelry is one industry where a specific kind of talent is needed, and that kind of a talent is available in certain parts of the country.
So what motivates your sales force here in jewelry industry?
In the jewelry industry?
Yeah.
First is, I mean, whether anybody agrees or no, something that has gloss is what attracts. It attracted me as well when I went to do with big brands.
Okay.
When it's shopper. Why do you think the ground floors are all non-apparels? They're all fragrances, jewelry. Why do you think retailers keep it like that? It's an unsaid thing. In the back of the mind, you like what is glittery, what shines. So it holds the same for all of us. We're human beings.
Beginning with the hospitality service industry and moving to media giant, and then working there, then moving to Bahrain for a retail brand.
Absolutely.
Successfully launched and grew the business, came back to India, worked with the American Embassy for 2 plus years. And there also it was a retail
FMCG
setup, but then it was a duty-free setup.
Correct.
Then again you got an opportunity to work with Shopper Stop, where you introduced initiatives like changes in visual merchandise, which led to increase in sales numbers, and also it's like right from handing over a bag to the shopper who is coming to the store,
basic,
and being there with them and giving them the experience of a
promoter giving them an experience of a new fragrance.
That's launched in the store, to turning into all profits, getting recognized by your competition brands like Lifestyle, landing there in Lifestyle, proving your numbers, moving into business expansion. Got the opportunity to work on new format like the Easy Bike, which is for Tier 2 cities. When you said you will stay as long as you find the work challenging, so now I think it's very clear in the works that you have described so far. So all that was challenging, as you move year after year, month after month, with new things coming your way.
I'm sharing this experience probably because of the fact that I said I want to contribute back to people, to the society, to retail. It's not an easy job. You'll have challenges. Please be focused on what you want to get out of your job. Success is going to come. It may get delayed, but it will eventually come. Today, I do not have any regrets of not having become a CEO 3 years or 4 years or 5 years back. But there's one gentleman who has realized the potential in me without even asking for this role. I came in as a business head. Today I become CEO of the company without me even asking for the role, because he saw something in me that he could relate to the fact that this is one person who can bring a difference to the business. He's let me do what I've learned from the industry, and the results are there to see on the floor. I still have a lot of things to offer to the brand, which I've been part of.
So the brand that you are working now is Kimchi Jewellers.
Right.
So how about your journey here at Kimchi Jewellers? Because all your experience was into corporate brands like Shopper Stop, Lifestyle, Oberoi and Star, and also with American Embassy, and now you are with Kimchi Jewellers, which is a regional jewellery brand.
Okay, I think I've been moving around, from the time I was working moving from Kashmir to Delhi to Gulf to then moving within India. So movement was, I was not specific to locations, though my home is Delhi now, but I was never averse to, if the opportunity presented to move away from Delhi and, just get fixated. As I said, it's been the challenge in the job that has always driven me to move companies, move places. It's never ever been driven by the fact of comfort that I get. There are two main factors at this point in time that drove me to.
But actually, people, as they grow up in the ladder and as they gain years of experience, they look at their comfort and settlement somewhere. But it is surprising to see even almost in 3 decades of experience, you're talking about challenges and then that keep you motivated to take up new places and new opportunities.
See, even without me telling you about that, I think the number of organizations that I've given you. You pick up any of their employees, generally their spans would be not less than 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. That's the comfort they get in these organizations. So it's obvious from the fact that I moved 4, 5 years from these companies, there is something more exciting that I wanted. And as I said, Landmark became 6 years because within Landmark I got another opportunity to do a different brand. So that is what extended my shelf life there. But yes, I think I value work as much as I value as much as I value God. So for me, work is always priority, and I have to keep myself engaged for me to survive. Rather, I think I remember my 2 years of stint during COVID. I wasn't working at that time. I came back from Nigeria. After COVID.
So Nigeria, what was the company that you worked in Nigeria?
The name is Montaigne Place. It was again a fragrance and beauty company. They had about 40 odd stores with them. I think it was again a great experience being there. In a country where I thought luxury would not have a life. It's considered as not even a third world country. It's supposed to be something that's very, very close to having hungry people all around and all that. But then there is a lot of aspirations or aspirants for luxury products as well, because of which we could have more than 40, 45 stores there. Though during the COVID, I think I must admit the fact that shops were shut, but we opened about a month and a half. The projection for business came down, but then expats being expats, the company at that point in time thought that they want to slash salaries for us to be sustained in the setup. I made a proposal to them that if I'm able to do numbers which we had promised pre-COVID, then that probably should not happen, and the company agreed to it, and I was able to actually grow the business in the COVID period itself, vis-a-vis the previous year, by about 20-25%.
It was all physical format in Nigeria?
Physical format, they didn't have any.
So how during COVID you guys could do physical format for
COVID was, we could close the 1 month and then thereafter. I'm talking of 1 month after.
1 month after.
Yeah, everything opened in Nigeria after a month of closure. So that was when we were offered to a salary slash and whatever. I said, if I do my numbers and I should win, I agreed. And I was able to grow the business by 20%. Unfortunately, the COVID also brought in a slash of the currency big time. If you look at the drop in currency, it came down by about 70-80%. So the sustainability factor again, played a big role. So taking a slash on salary would not have meant anything for me. It would have come down to, being in India and, earning the same or something, or it would have just about met my expenses. So we talked about it, and eventually I just said that, I think it's better that I go back. You go to country, outside of the country, no matter what people might say, it's not only always a comfort, it's also about, making money.
Earnings that we have.
Yeah, that you have to have additional earnings. Going to a Gulf or going to why should one go to Nigeria, of all the places? That is not so much of risk. It may be perception driven right now more so, because earlier it's not the great country to be in. But even from the perspective of quality of life, it's not the great place to be.
I understand.
So somebody has to take that call to be there, then at least there has to be some compensation in monetary terms. So, which was given to me for the first few months after, and then continued till about November of 2020, when I decided, okay, fine, it's not happening any longer, and then I returned back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And then, coming back to where you said, working with corporates and then, coming back. Before COVID also, I just had worked with, after I left Lifestyle, I had worked with a couple of startup. One was startup and the other was, of course, other was also a startup. Though it was some years there, but I mean in terms of volumes it looked more like a startup and they wanted to grow. As I said earlier that, I could feel that whatever I could transform or give back to the business would be in the form of being able to give in a decision making power to execute what I think is good for business.
Okay.
Mostly what you learn from the businesses at the level that I've reached now would involve a certain amount of investment from the company. So that would only happen when I am able to speak to people who kind of are the decision makers when it comes to financials. And who better than probably the owners of the companies, and that's when I decided, okay, let me look at the startups or owner-driven businesses as well. And I looked at a couple of them and successfully so. Unfortunately, with those previous setups, they didn't have the capital to move the business forward. So I could find that, there wasn't enough contribution I could give to them. If finances became a problem, because I was brought in to grow the business. Now, growing the business will require a lot of financial aspects, which couldn't fall in place during those times. But then I had the conviction that, whenever I get into, or if I have the opportunity to get into a setup where I can utilize my, experience of all these decades, I would still give it a try. And coming to Orissa, I never had any inhibition of not being able to go to any other place. Just because I'm a Delhi, I come from a metropolis. So when I got this opportunity, one was that I always, because I thought, and the vision that Kimji gave me was about what they wanted to do in the next few years. And it may be a regional brand today, but with the vision that we have, we will move out of Orissa as well at some point in time. So that was one thing that I thought I could contribute. And also, in terms of expansion, as I said, I have experience and I could kind of be able to help. Second is that this is one area, this is one category of business where, as I told you earlier, is that there isn't a lot of structure in the industry, even working with other than big brands.
Talking about jewellery industry.
Right.
We will have jewellery industry, organized players and the unorganized sector.
Yeah.
So earlier it was more of 90-95% was unorganized sector.
Absolutely.
But 5% was all the organized players, and with Tanishq and lot of other players being there for many years now. Now I think people think of setting up stores across the country, then their aspirations have moved.
Absolutely.
Than limiting themselves to regional position. This is my understanding. So how business happens with organized players like Tanishq, or especially you being in the Kimji now, what exactly is business different from a local jewellery store to the one that you are in?
See, it's always in terms of first of all the aspiration of the brand. When you say the aspiration of the brand, where do you want to be? If the leadership in a small retailer wants to remain within certain volumes, he may not want to grow a store. He is happy because this business is driven a lot by loyalty and your experience with the consumer. So today, if I go to a particular jewelry store, whether it's a big or a small or whatever, over a period of time, with the services that you give me or with the kind of product that you have given me, I'm satisfied with your services, I'm satisfied with the product, and I'm satisfied with the experience, that my comfort level and the trust builds over a period of time. So this is one industry which which lives on a lot of trust, transparency, and and then of course a lot to do with loyalty, and pricing is also one of the key factors as well, which of course doesn't change much here and there. But I think trust and transparency are two big tools which bring in loyalty here. Now this brand is about 87 years old.
Okay.
And going back to the history of this brand, the late Khimji Darbai, who came into Orissa, sometime in 36. He worked with the Queen of Mayurbhanj. He came in and he was doing a lot of artisan work. He would do jewelry by himself and all that. At the same time, of course, at that time, you would take the order for somebody's jewelry. They would give you gold, and you would redo designs and all that. He carried a lot of stuff of that time for making, but then the World War started, and he went back to his roots at that point in time. So probably people at those times, who had given them his jewelry, etc., would have thought that it's not going to come back. They've forgotten about it. I mean, World War, and somebody moves out, what do you do? And you're talking of 1939, for example. But this gentleman, with his conviction and with him being so clear and transparent about it, he came back and actually went to each and every consumer who he had taken, the garments to do for. He went back and returned those to them. So that's what laid the foundation, or that was his conviction about how this industry will grow. So I mean, he obviously was forward-looking, and this was, of course, inbred in him, that I need not break the trust of people no matter what. So the trust was there, the transparency obviously, comes into play there. And that's where a bit of build-up started. Then he had his sons, who are the current chairman and managing director of the company, who just took the business on from there, and with whatever resources that they had at hand at that point in time, moved the business right up to 1998. It was a smaller business, maybe lesser than 100 crores at that point in time. And thereafter, the next generation, which is the current directors, Mr. Mitesh Khimji, who is at the forefront, and then his another brother is Sumit Khimji, who are taking this business forward, and they've phenomenally grown this business in the last 22 years. Great visionaries of the business, great understanding of the consumer, great understanding of the taste of the consumer, great understanding of the people, not only from the jewelry industry, but overall as to what are the facets that will make this business work. Who is it that we need to put at the front end? What kind of people, what kind of mindsets we need to put for us to actually delight our customer? He's been very, very particular about that. I've been here only 10 odd months, but what I see in the stores, what I see in this, is a reflection of his vision of what he wanted this industry to look like. When I talk about the other players as well, which is the non-national players, which may look organized, they're really not organized. They may look organized in certain facets, like that marketing is doing this thing, but internally, they still are the same. It's one thing having a computer in your house, and the other thing using it. It's one thing having an iPhone with you, but it's another thing using it to
all its applications, optimizing its
so you don't get modernized just because you have the gadget. You've got to use it. This company has, ahead of time, it's not only because now you have this industry structured, much ahead of times has looked into the inventory management, how to order, those controls, people management, their, performance management, then people engagement, a lot of ideas that we don't even talk about, honestly. But they've been doing it. I was amazed with a lot of things, though I was very unsure, when I was even joining, when I had my last set of discussions with them, as to whether, I would be able to fit in. Because of the way this industry operated, it's no secret. So, but my last interaction with them lasted about 4 hours, which was very, very pleasant. And that kind of opened up a lot of cobwebs in my mind. And before I took an informed decision about that, I had a lot of discussions on what are the apprehensions I had, and then there are a lot of clarities given, and I see that whatever they said, that it was just according to that. So when you talk of smaller jewelers, again, it's it's aspiration, what you want to do as an aspiration. The one thing that has happened good for the consumer is the introduction of the HUID, the land, that you stamping that you do, This is
KDM 91 points.
that's
Hallmarks.
hallmarking that you do.
Hallmarking.
So that has to be done for every product that you do, and that is done
That's
independently.
mandatory, right? Even
That
for the
becomes
small time jewelers, it is mandatory
So-
now. Before it was an option.
Correct. So that's, from a consumer perspective, that part is, structured now. They can't claim to
That's
have.
because of the government's policy.
Absolutely, I think that has, for somebody who would not do the business.
Okay.
We had done HUID much before it became mandatory. That's
Got
the
it.
beauty of being in this kind, and these are things that I studied about this place, and kind of helped me make a decision about this.
Okay.
I said they did much ahead of times.
Uh-huh.
It was not mandatory.
So
They did.
you have scope for innovation and its execution.
Absolutely. I think there's
That led you to decide on moving.
absolutely. I said there's a lot of things that are all in place, and then from here on, it's far more easier to take a leap and get on to executing their vision.
So, Mr. Rajinder, what's your observation on how selling has changed?
In the past, it was the brand which drove a customer into coming and buying from you. You had very select brands, even when you talk luxury or any other brands, select set of brands. I'll go back to my first job stint. If you talk of the hotels at that time, the three big hotels that in Delhi, or generally you would know of, was Oberoi's, the Sheraton, and the Taj group of hotels. Now, in those times, if somebody had to look for an accommodation of a top-class accommodation, one would only look for these three hotels. So it was more. There's a buyer's market, a seller's market. So the demand was high, and the inventory was low. So then it's a seller's market. Then he's walking into you, and you're just servicing. You've been taught the basics of servicing, on how to service. Not only basics, but what is the ideal servicing pattern. So you just have to service it, and then everything would happen. So the consumer would come into you. Now, as things have moved on, technologies have changed, businesses have realized the potential of certain facets of business. Now, even luxury is not limited to a few brands. Every other big brand is coming in and getting into luxury. So the consumer has many more choices. So now it's become a buyer's market. You've got to reach out to a buyer and then make sure that he buys from you. That's the difference. That's the broad difference that has changed. How do you, now that begs a question. How do you then, even in a buyer's market, make sure that you retain a customer, you do your numbers, he comes back to you? My one point answer to this is, be in the shoes of the customer and understand what he's looking for when he walks into your store. He puts the brand in a certain positioning. You know what your brand positioning is. Live up to that in terms of servicing, in terms of managing the communication, in terms of managing everything that is related to him, and outbeat his expectations when it comes to buying. To the extent that when he thinks of buying a product, that he's bought from you any other time, even if he's in the middle of a sleep, and somewhere it comes across to him that he wants to buy, your brand should flash somewhere. And you should be the only brand, or maybe one of the few brands. That will only come with one thing, and that's called his experience at the store with you, or the engagement that he's had with you. I always keep teaching my people, down the line, that you lose it with the customer at the first, or you lose it or you connect it to the customer at the first interaction itself. It's like that you have a friend or a relative walking into your house. He rings the bell. The owner of the house or the head of the house opens the bell, opens the door. Your expression says it all. Whether you're welcome, you're not welcome. He may be compelled for whatever reason to walk into your home, but his tenure of spending the time would rest with him. Because he's a relative, for example, and because he's reached your house, and he said, "Oh, welcome, good morning," but he would know whether you're welcome or not. So because he's a relative, he's compelled to at least spend some time. He'll spend 5 minutes and go away, rather than him spending 1 hour with you and for whatever reason. So treat your customer as somebody who's wanting, okay, he's coming with a bundle of notes to you to spend. So how much you make him spend all depends on that. And so that finesse, that engagement that you start right from the point of his entering the store to the point of leaving will determine whether you will be successful in retail or not.
So we spoke about seller's market to the buyer's market. What about technology and its role in your current industry, which is the jewellery business? Jewellery market?
I think there's a lot. Earlier what used to happen is that, I'm not talking of the national players right now. They also picked up their data from, very, very, generic way of representing themselves, but over a period of time they have got more data centric. Earlier it used to be more drawn by, maybe the sensitivity of probably the owners of the business, knowing that, okay, this is what will sell, this is what will not sell, and they would bring in quantities. Without having too much of a sensitivity about how much to buy, how much to block, how much not to block. You may say that a chain of a particular kind is selling with me, but how much does it sell in the period of, let's say, first 15 days of the month? I'm not saying, during a Dhanteras or Akshaya Tritiya or whatever, they broadly know. But how about the other periods, which are low and high periods? So technology teaches you a lot in that sense as to, and because this is jewelry and it requires a serious amount of investment, your stock rotation has to be faster, if you want to, kind of keep your cash flows good and not be on the interest-laden, stock investment. It's important for you to kind of plan your stocking, and I'm only talking about stocks right now, to plan your stocks in a manner that you understand when you require to up the stock, when you require to, lower the stock. I think also the way jewelry
planning at the seller side, I understand, but connecting with the customer, he also has knowledge of what happens today in the other business, other jewellery, markets. So does he compare?
The specific thing about jewellery is, and I think you may say that this is an advantage or a non-advantage, is that the raw material, which is the gold in itself, has a certain price. Which is standardized everywhere. So what differentiates one retailer from the other?
Charges and the customer experience.
The design first.
The design, okay.
The design element, whether it suits that particular market, particular set of customers, who you are targeting, which is what I say as TG. That's one side of it, and the second is the making charges. Those are the ones which are the key elements. Nowadays, this HUID thing in hallmarking is something, where you don't have to worry about the purity of the gold. I'm saying gold in specifics. You don't have to worry about that. So that's all taken care of. Now, what is somebody able to provide me a design of the kind that I want? Now, that's where the finesse, or that's where the intelligence of the software also comes into play, because you introduce something, whether that's worked for you or not worked for you.
You're able to create more designs for customers with the help of technology.
Absolutely. What works for me, what doesn't work for me.
Is 3D also used in technology?
I think if you see my some of our posts right now, we do reels quite a lot now.
Okay.
So you will see the 3Ds are used
3D is used in designing the jewellery.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do that as well.
Okay. So in meeting the customer demands, so pulling them to your stores and to your business, design is one aspect.
Absolutely, it's very, very, very important.
Okay. And technology is facilitating that.
Technology is facilitating that. Technology is facilitating planning.
Okay.
And technology is technology is facilitating even efficiency.
Okay. How are your sales teams equipped? Do you, in general, if you are comfortable, you can explain about Kimchi stores alone, or in general all the retail stores that you work with. They are all agile in giving new age selling models to the sales teams.
As in how, if you could explain that better.
Okay. So design is something which is a corporate decision, which is a business decision. If you invest in 3D or any other technology, you get the design that you want. You invest in research, then you will get to sense the consumer pulse. And if you invest in marketing, you will have a better reach of whatever the efforts that you are keeping. What about the salesperson, who is actually interacting with the customers in the store? So, is there any change that the organization has to empower them with,
Absolutely.
in educating the customers, or in
Gener-
new training modules that were introduced of late?
Yeah. Generically, uh, for retail or any kind of business that you are in, and you're in a senior position, there are three things that one has to keep in mind when you have to make the sales teams or the teams on the front end, get you the better output. Is enable, empower, and monitor. So you enable them. You have all sets of trainings. Whether it is the front end training, it's a retail module, which is like customer interaction. Then how do you upsell? Training modules keep changing off and on. The product modules keep changing as we keep changing the product. I think we've also had over a period of time changed the way we train people. Earlier it used to be, before we used to be on the floor training as well. Now we have very structured training pattern where we've introduced, and we're already 6-7 months into it, a structured training pattern. Let's say somebody's walking into our organization, post the induction, then he has a certain set of trainings which he has to go through. One is the retail bit, how to sell in retail. Second is upselling, retail selling skills. Then he's got a product training. After every module that you finish, he is tested out for his knowledge of understanding of what he's understood from it. If he's got a certain grade beyond which if he reaches, then he's let off on the floor to deal with the customers. Else he's sent back to the training, to see how much he can improve. And once he's done that, he goes back to the floor. So these training modules, especially the product modules, keep changing from time to time as we keep changing designs and all.
They're simplified with the help of technology.
Absolutely.
So I have a related question here, and this I asked you also before. So how is hiring done in your industry? Because I saw a job opening of yours, and for which the interviews are done in a city where you don't even have a store. So what's the reason behind?
Well, I'll tell you. I think jewelry is one industry where a specific kind of talent is needed. And that kind of a talent is available in certain parts of the country. And there are people who who excel in those parts of the country in the jewelry business. And that's the whole idea of picking, because you've got the people with the right mindset who sell jewelry. If you look in those particular states as well, the jewelry selling is very, very high.
So first you will figure out which states have the jewelry sales booming. Then that's where your next
It's not that I have to say that it's been there for decades already. We know that this particular place, you get the best jewelry guys from. Two facets of hiring is, one is that people who will interact with locally here on the floor, there will be people from Orissa because of the language and all. Then as you grow senior positions, they are the people who know how to manage the business overall from an operational perspective. Like the vertical managers and then the store managers and all, they come from those particular, if you would have looked at those, ads as well, it's certain positions that we have from them. So that is keeping in mind their knowledge about or their keenness of selling jewelry. I have one of my managers, they're very passionate about this particular, category. I have one of my managers who's one of senior managers who is very well settled, has a settled business, back home in Kerala. Yet for his passion of jewelry, he's decided to come and join us. This was the only question I asked him. I said, "Why do you leave your family and come?" This is my passion for jewelry. And every third person that you come from that place.
And what I observed is, once people are into selling jewelry, I don't think they are changing industries, because I am a customer of Tanishq, and in the store, if I meet people, they are there for many years.
Correct.
So usually they don't change industries.
I think it's also fashion is very, very catchy as well.
Okay.
And what better than jewelry, which it attracts you, so you just don't get.
Okay.
Because of fashion, you love being part of the fashion, why not?
What's your opinion on online sales of jewelry? Because still there are many players, including Kimji, who are into physical format. So how about online format? How customers are responding, because now you have tools, marketing, you can make a big impact, big deal across, and then you can actually, anybody can actually go national. They need not have a physical store.
Correct.
How does it work in jewellery?
I think even there still needs to be, the consumer still needs to get the confidence of buying the jewellery online. It's some of the categories of products are touch and feel. I mean, you must still know that it's a 24 carat. You like the design, let me order it. There
You
still
always have
is,
an option to return also if you don't like.
you can, but I'm also saying that the consumer confidence is more important here than mine. In the jewellery sector, I'm not so sure if it is that way, especially when it comes to gold. See, in your bigger occasions like the Tritiya and this one, the gold coins 24 carats, I mean, there's a lot of comfort that people have. So that they buy online.
Yeah, in buying gold coins, but not
Even silver.
jewellery.
Yeah. No, jewellery is something which they still have
That's because a
hesitation.
high value item.
Anything that
That's
goes
the
high
reason.
value, anything that goes high. Also, I think I would say it has got some amount of an emotional element attached to it. And when I say emotional element, you normally buy jewelry, especially gold jewelry, maybe for an occasion. Maybe you buy for a daughter, you buy for a wife, whatever. You don't want to falter that.
It's like an asset next to
It's,
real estate.
absolutely. You just cannot falter that. Specific about gold jewelry. When it comes to diamonds, the consumer mindset is different. You may still take risk in buying diamonds. Yeah.
Okay. So most of the
Because
online
I'll tell you
shopping
diamonds-
for jewellery is diamond jewellery.
Pardon?
Most of the online shopping today is happening by the consumers is for.
I'm not saying big time, but I'm saying he's more confident of buying the diamond jewelry online rather than offline.
Okay.
Because I said that one side that is an emotional. Diamond is more fashion driven. It's not emotional driven. It's not an It's not a marriage driven or an anniversary driven. It doesn't have to have a particular date that you buy, which is the right date to buy. Yeah.
What do you think is the contribution of online presence for this industry?
Awareness.
Sales.
Awareness,
Business basically.
yeah. I think
So if it is
gradually-
100 crores, example, entire market is 100 million crore in India alone. What percentage of sales are across the brands happening online? I mean, it's a rough estimate because
I'm not
shows
sure.
the consumer.
I mean, from my experience of whatever 8, 9, 10 months, I might get this number wrong, but the way I see it, I don't see more than 2%, 1 or 2% of it. In India at least, I don't know outside. Outside people might be.
Then there is a less impact of things like artificial intelligence in the way people sell, because all the technology that's helping your industry is in improving the process, improving the operations, improving the marketing.
No, I'm saying it is helping selling. You ask me how, and that my answer is going to be that I'm able to place all the designs on the site, so the decision is already made before he comes to walks in. That's where the intelligence is happening. Otherwise, he would have to struggle through 4 stores to see what is the assortment.
So at least he has the initial idea of what to buy, and then he chooses a store to come
and physically test it out.
Test it and pick it up. Maybe out of 10 he will choose 2, 3 online itself.
In fact, online he would have known what he wants to buy. This is what I want to buy. You normally have the grams and the pricing and whatever broadly put in there as a catalog. And then you're okay, fine, I like this, I'll buy it. He'll pick up a phone, call up either and say that is the design available. We say yes. He'll prefer to walk into a store and buy.
Okay, so does that call for downsizing the in-house store salespeople?
Why should we have to?
Okay. Now I'm saying because you don't have to really show 10 designs to them today, because he already saw the designs, right? When they are online.
Yeah.
So you only have to show maybe, when I walk in, if I were to be in the customer position, I see 10 designs online, I made up my mind on 2, 3, and then when I come, the first thing, people like me who want to save time basically, I don't know about others, so I'll only ask for those 2, 3 designs. And your store salesperson would only show me those 2, 3. That means it calls for a less amount of time spent by a salesperson. So does that cut down on the number of sales hours for your people, which eventually will call for downsizing the sales team as more and more people start making partially decisions online, looking at the design?
My answer right now is no. Because of the fact that I think I talk about engagement. No matter what is in a customer's mind,
Okay.
I will have to engage him more to make him buy more.
Okay.
That's important. So as of now, no. I mean, in the westernized nations, if you talk of jewelry, I mean, people are very, very clear what they want to buy. So they don't want to be messed around with and all that. But in India, they still will come and they know what they want to buy. They'll still want to be shown more designs. They will not tell you that they saw it online. So, but at the same time, when they come and ask for certain designs, you will show it to them. At the same time, my sales executive will make sure that he shows them
show
others.
some additional designs.
Absolutely, it's part of his profile.
Okay.
So I'm not sticking myself to what decision the customer has made sitting at home.
Okay.
I'm trying to upsell. So I may want,
Okay.
I may have to convince him to buy more.
Okay.
So and then customers do change their minds.
So if he was planning for some 1 tulah gold or 3 tulah
Yeah.
gold, and now when he is in store, our job is to ensure that he picks up a little extra.
Correct.
And of course, satisfaction.
And the percentage of customers who buy little, or who buy from what they've seen and they just stick to that is very, very low. 2-3% of people that they've seen and they just want to stick to that product. Highly service-centric category. You can't have a letdown in serviceability aspect of it.
Okay. So what motivates your sales force here in jewellery industry?
In the jewelry industry,
Yeah.
first is I mean whether anybody agrees or no. Something that has gloss is what attracts. It attracted me as well when I went to those big brands.
Okay.
Whether it's shopper. Why do you think the ground floors are all non-apparels? They're all fragrances,
Okay.
jewelry. Why do you think retailers keep it like that? It's an unsaid thing. In the back of the mind, you like what is glittery, what shines. So it holds the same for all of us. We're human beings. That's one. The glitter of the industry
So
holds them on. That's one.
being there, selling it.
Just being part of it. It's like you're in the middle of gold and you feel royal. That's one part of it that keeps them there.
Okay.
And secondary, jewelry is one industry which is driven a lot. I mean, I talk of my brand, which is driven a lot by incentives. And we do fabulous incentives. They are unheard of incentives, which Kimji does. I mean, in fact, we have been the first ones, at least in Orissa, to introduce the incentive scheme that we have. And that's what, people think that they can achieve. It doesn't boil down to those basic few thousand rupees that they get as part of a fixed pay. Their variables, they can, go to any extent. They can get as much as the value of the salary for the month. That's the level of incentives. And they've not pulled us down. They have always, upscaled the business because they see the value. So if I have to say from an employee perspective, one is being part of that luxury, and second is that you're gaining out of it. No industry otherwise in retail would give you the kind of incentives that you get in jewelry industry.
Okay.
I'm saying in value terms.
Okay.
Yeah, you may get it, but not that kind.
What about self-care for salespeople, according to you?
As in, what are the benefits or something, or how do we take care of it?
Self-care. We are after members. We are after, Sunday also we take calls like this, though it is a holiday. Yes, for senior people it is a must. But how about even the teams who are in the junior and the middle level also? They also have calls across. I'm not talking about jewellery industry alone. Most of the industries, they work like that. If the numbers are not achieved, they slog those extra hours into the market and they try to achieve their numbers. Doing that, they actually ignore their health. They don't go to gym. They don't exercise regularly. This is what I have seen in sales.
Yeah, I think with this industry, and we have worked, and with the company, even we have introduced, and we're looking at introducing some more, is that when I say people, then we are looking at more employee engagement programs, one of which is going to be in healthcare programs. Is that you have sessions, from health experts, like you do the yoga sessions and then some breathing sessions, etc. and all that. We introduce them.
Any message that you would like to give to salespeople who are watching this video? Any age group, including Gen Z?
Don't get into sales if you're not up for a 24/7 working, because sales is a very demanding profession, which requires you to which will require a demand like, it's like a doctor's trade there, you can be required at any point in time. For me, it's a doctor-patient relationship. You might have a customer calling in the dead of night. You should be up there to take his call and address his query. If you want to be a successful salesperson, so have a passion for. You should be a good communicator. You should love talking, sharing information. So if you do not have it in your more a shy kind of person, I don't think this profession is for you. Working odd hours is something, yes, you should be up and running for that. Working on days when other people are, celebrating is something which you should be up for, the festivals and all that. You may have festivities in workplace, but it may not necessarily be that you will be part of the family. After a certain level, when you grow, when you get into the corporate side or the back-end side, I'm talking more about the front-end side. The front-end side requires a lot of you to forego this. And also, unless you're willing to treat the customer as God, and I mean to say that because there's somebody who's coming and is wanting to give you his money. If you're not able to respect that, then you should definitely not come into sales. And if you're not up for engagement, you should not come up for sales. So whatever I said, you should not do. I mean, you have to be. If you're the opposite of it, you're in the right profession. Okay, so the way I see Gen Z right now, I think they're more into the digital aspect of how they want to do things. It's good to be digitalized, it's good to do things, via the computers, via virtually, but serviceability is something which requires personal interaction with people. In an industry like this, and this being a service industry, retail being service-centric, most of them, other than FMCG, it's not so much. So if you have to be very service-centric if you want to be successful in this profession. Okay. So long hours of standing, be able to smile all time long, have the perseverance and the desire to work hard, have the desire to work through the challenges when thrown by the customer as well. Because customers, as I said, they will come with certain moods. They may like something, they may not. They may sometimes get abusive. You should have the perseverance and the agility in you to handle things calmly. So calm head on your shoulders, and more importantly, like what you're doing. So keep these things in your mind before you jump into sales. And once your answers to all these questions that I've said, or all these facets that I've said is yes, and I'm sure you'll be successful salesman or successful in sales.
So thank you so much for everything that you have shared and giving us a good walkthrough of the retail experience and the brands that you worked with and the initiatives that you have taken and how they help the brands in increasing numbers and especially keeping customer at the center, and then the engagement and the hospitality that you have offered through your teams to customers. It's all amazing, learning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.